When I first started collecting, I wasn't collecting as a collector. When I first started collecting, it was as a solidarity activist, and I was using the posters that I collected to organize against the U.S. wars in Central America. So there was no idea of starting a center. There was no idea of being a collector. I didn't see it as art. I didn't want it hanging on my wall. I didn't see it as primary historical documentation. It was a poster. And I literally had that attitude, almost that dismissive attitude of a poster, that once I realized how important posters are, that I was resenting that attitude in other people. In 1981, I went to Nicaragua because I was hired as a research assistant to help David Kunzel, who was a full professor, art historian, and he had 7,000 to 8,000 posters that he'd been collecting since the Vietnam War period. And he would go every summer to a different country and collect posters. And one day we went into the women's organization and they were planning a big demonstration for like a couple days later in the week. And they just had delivered a pile, I mean hundreds if not more, of the posters that they produced for this demonstration. And you could still smell the ink. It was literally hot off the press. And so they gave me like 24 of them. And I didn't know what I was going to do with 24 of them. So I figured I'd keep 5 or 6 to take back to LA. And I was regifting them. You know, people would, give me a poster. I said, would you like a poster? And we were living with a family. The woman was a nurse. The man was an accountant. They were very strong supporters of the Sandinistas, but they were middle class, living in a middle class neighborhood. And the middle class, their neighbors were really divided. The ones who supported the Sandinistas and the ones who hated the Sandinistas. So I'd given Velia, the woman of the house, one of the posters, and she put it up in her living room on the wall. So this is the poster that changed my life. One of the anti-Sandinistas neighbors came over for a consultation, and she had her 8 or 9-year-old son with her. And their neighbor's child was left alone in the room while the 2 women went off to get some health care consultation. And he'd never been in the house before. He was looking around, trying to see how they lived differently than he did. And he immediately was attracted to this poster, the bright color, the strong graphic, and then he goes over to it, and he was short, and the poster was up high, and I watched him mouthing the words, "In constructing the new country, we are becoming the new woman." And this is the Nicaraguan Women's Association, and I watched him try to figure out what the poster meant. And I doubt that he figured out what it meant. It's a pretty sophisticated concept for an 8 or 9-year-old. But that wasn't the point. The point for me that was my epiphany moment. That was the moment, literally the light bulb went off. That's how posters work. You're going about your daily life. You're not making a special trip to a museum to see, a Picasso. You're going about your daily life, and there's this thing that attracts your attention by its bold color, its slogan, its graphic. And it makes you stop, it makes you think, it makes you ask a question. And every time we ask a question, we're different. Questions change us because it kind of breaks through the bubble that we always have, that we know what we need to know to get through the day. But posters are able to break through that and make us see the world a little differently than we saw the world before the poster. When we started the center, it was still, political posters were not considered art form. They were considered agitprop, which is a pejorative. Political art, just to call something political art, is also pejorative. There's the fine arts, there's the high arts, and they never combine politics, which of course is, they don't know their art history, because Guernica is one of the most extraordinary paintings. In fact, I think Time magazine called the Guernica the most important piece of art of the 20th century. And you certainly cannot call that not political. That's what made it. But for the most part, the museums don't show political art unless it's by a Picasso or somebody who's already famous for something else. So political posters were not only not considered an art form, but they're basically the stepchild of the art world. And one of the things that the Center for the Study of Political Graphics is trying to do is get political posters taken seriously as an art form. There was a big anti-Vietnam War demonstration scheduled for June 23rd, 1967 in Century City. And it was a very, middle-class demonstration. A lot of, Hollywood types and people like Muhammad Ali were speaking at the rally ahead of time. But the people who did organize it had a permit. It was all a legal demonstration. They did all the publicity, and it was a really big turnout. It was the biggest demonstration LA had ever seen at that point. And I remember I was walking with my sister. We were probably like in the first third of the demonstration, so there were people still, walking from Rancho Park was where it started. And then there was a very deep row, so row across and rows deep, of LAPD motorcycle cops with the riot gear and the helmets and the motorcycles, and somebody with a megaphone or something said, okay, we've rescinded the permit, this is now an illegal demonstration, turn around and go back. Well, A, people didn't want to go back. B, people in the back couldn't hear. And then I don't remember, it could have been 2 minutes, it could have been 5 minutes, it could have been 10 minutes. It doesn't really matter because they started en masse riding their motorcycles right into the crowd, swinging the billy clubs left and right. And it was just by chance, there was a woman in front of me who got hit when the billy club went that way, and there was a woman over there that got hit when the billy club went that way. So literally, I was in the triangle of the movement of the motorcycle. I just was in the triangle that was safe. And then I was shocked that the police would do that. I mean, we were doing something. We weren't doing anything illegal. We weren't doing anything violent. And it started out, it was legal. And I just couldn't believe that they would do that. And prior to Century City, I really wasn't committed to demonstrations. I went to a couple not safe, but easy ones. But after the Century City demonstration, I was not going to miss a demonstration. I don't know if this poster is going to make a difference, or that poster stopped the war, or that poster changed somebody's life. I know a poster changed my life. And I know graphics changed Martin Luther King's life. I'd have specific examples of graphics and images changing people's lives. But if we didn't try to make things better, we know they're going to get worse faster. And so I can't guarantee you anything. I can't prove that this is going to make a difference. But I can guarantee that if people like the artists who made these posters and the organizations that were working around getting these posters made and distributed, if they weren't doing that work, this world would be in a way worse shape, a lot faster. So I'd rather err on the side of trying to make things better, leaving the world a better place than I found it, than saying, just go off and go to the beach.